Supporters of Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni say he freed the country from the grip of dictatorships, championing the birth of a democratic nation. But his critics accuse him of derailing the country's democratic progress by clinging onto power for nearly 4 decades. Over the years, human rights abuse allegations have pushed Uganda further away from Western countries and towards Asia, the Middle East, as well as new trading partners like Turkiye. I'm Adesewa Josh, and I've been speaking to President Museveni about the country's blooming relations with Turkiye, Uganda's strategic role in maintaining peace and security in East Africa, and his legacy as Africa's third longest-serving president. Your Excellency, President Yoweri Museveni, thank you so much for making out time for this interview.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to Uganda.
I'm happy to be here. Uganda trades more with China, India, and African countries than it does with the West. But in the past decade, we have seen the Uganda-Turkey relations grow steadily, especially in the area of trade. Where do you see the Uganda-Turkey relations heading forward?
You see, when we attract Turkish investors, we tell them that you come here not to preach religion, but to make money. And making money means you produce a good or a service for the internal market of Uganda of 43 million people, for the regional market of East Africa of 300 million people, for the continental market of Africa of 1.45 billion people. Then also you can export back to Turkey, or you can export to third parties, like the United States, like European Union, like China. So this is the message. The message is you come and make money, and in the process contribute to the growth of Uganda's economy, the creation of jobs, and so on.
Mr. President, during an interview with Reuters recently, you said Westerners are losing appetite to do business in Uganda. Those were your words. And you pledged to tackle corruption, which appeared to be the reason why some Western investors are taking a step back. I'd like to know how the effort to crack down on corruption has been going, since, according to official data, you lose $5.6 billion to corruption every year.
Corruption will be defeated because corruption offends the mass of the people, the population. Because corruption is mainly stealing government money. It is not so easy to steal private money. The private people know how to look after their money well, the private companies. But it is the government money which is vulnerable, and it is stolen in contracts, in inflation of the payroll and so on. And in all that, the population gets affected. If a road is supposed to come here and it comes when it is poor quality, we are the ones who suffer, we in the area. Therefore, our structure eventually will get rid of corruption because we have a mass-based democratic movement. The people are organized in committees at the village level and at the sub-county level. So the strategy of our anti-corruption agencies is to link with the people. You are supposed to get a school here. Was it built? So it is not all that difficult to. Yes, it's there, but there are mechanisms.
But are you making progress with that?
Yes,
effort?
yes.
Mr. President, one of the things that is attracting investors to your country is the tax incentives that you give. And those conditions are quite attractive. So I'd like to talk about the Uganda Vinci coffee deal. The government gave the Italian company incentives including free land, correct me if I'm wrong, exclusive rights to buy all of Uganda's coffee. The company is also exempted from paying income tax and pay tax and the like, and this is pretty attractive. The only thing I've heard from some Ugandans in the coffee business is that even though they don't get that much as local investors, they don't get that much from the government. How do you react to that?
Those Ugandans are in danger of not going to heaven. I'm very sorry.
Why is that?
I'm very sorry for them because they are telling lies. The real loss to Africa is exporting raw materials instead of exporting finished products. If you take coffee, when I last checked, you can go and check now, but when I checked many years ago, after as soon as I came into government, I found that a kilo of coffee that time was giving us $1. A kilo of dehusked coffee, where you only remove the husks. It's called kase in our language. I don't know what it means. It would give you $1. Now, when somebody, the clever people, the Europeans, Nescafe, all those groups, once they take this 1 kilo, they roast it and grind it into flour, into powder. For what I got $1, they get $14. This is the issue. Therefore, in each kilogram, Wonderful Africa is donating $13 to somebody else.
So is this deal supposed to help?
Of course, because it's to add value, to roast and grind here.
The only concern is that you're giving away so much.
Hold on.
Okay.
So you don't only donate money, but you also donate jobs. Because the one who is roasting the coffee is not an Ogunde. It is some Smith or somebody. The one who is grinding, the one who is packaging. All these are not your children. They are children of some clever person somewhere who is making wealth from your labor. So therefore, all those things they are talking about are really not comparable to the loss where I lose $13 in every kilogram of coffee. You can go and calculate it. Uganda is now exporting 8 million bags of 60 kilograms. I don't know how many tons that one is. Yes, 450,000. So you can calculate if you lose $13, or okay, even if you could say maybe you lose like 10 because there is also transport. When you finalize the processing here, then you need, of course, to subtract transport to the market.
Okay.
So you may end up with not $14, but maybe 12.
So basically, Mr. President, it's good business.
Very good business.
Right.
It is. This is where the big problem of Africa is producing raw materials.
I agree with you. Let's talk about domestic
now,
politics.
when they talk of taxes, these are nothing, because if I don't, because I want to capture this person to come here, the Ugandans will say we should get the same
treatment.
We shall give it to you if you go into value addition. We shall not give you incentives to export raw materials. Sorry, you are a slave trader. You are taking our value to somebody else in exchange for no value. So why should we facilitate you?
Mr. President, let's talk a little bit about local politics. I heard you saying something earlier about the efforts you have put into cracking down on corruption. But I also know that corrupt officials are not the only ones that you are cracking down on. There have been numerous reports of you cracking down on political opponents. The 2021 election was characterized by a lot of bloody incidents, actually, and it led to the death of over 50 protesters. And some of your critics did say that you are very intolerant to dissenting voices. In fact, some of them call you a bully. How do you respond to that?
I am a very tame bully because everybody abuses me and abuses the government. You can deploy some people to sample for you what the local radios say, the opposition radios. We actually very passive when it comes to dealing with the criticism. But when you try to organize an insurrection, because that's what they tried to do that time, to stop the elections, they organized an insurrection, attacking the shops, attacking other citizens. They were saying that Uganda would become ungovernable. That's why the security forces, some of them used the proper procedure and brought down that problem.
I like the word you used there, some, because some others did not. And actually you acknowledged the fact that at some point there was excessive use of force. And you also commissioned a report, a probe into the killings. Unfortunately, I know that the report is ready, but it was withheld from the public. Why? And why hasn't anyone been prosecuted?
It was not easy to trace. You could see there was a mistake, but it was not easy to trace the mistake maker, because it was like a surprise to these security forces. So when they reacted, they could not fully account for who was where and who did what. There were some gaps, but we were able to identify those who were definitely, because in some areas there were cameras, you could see who did what. And where it was clear we acted. I don't have the details, but some were arrested.
Tangulani Sentamu was your main political challenger in the last election. Does he remind you of your younger self in the late 70s and early 80s when you led a rebellion against Milton Obote and Idi Amin?
He reminds me of our young opponents and enemies when we were fighting, because when we were young, with the orientation of patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, opposing us, were other young people who were in the path of neocolonialism, working for foreign interests. They were young people. Young is biology, but we are talking about ideology. We are not talking about biology. This is not a biological issue. It is an ideological one. Because that time, our opponents were young people. The army we defeated was an army of young people. Young, but with wrong ideas.
What is wrong with Bobi Wine's idea?
First of all, he spends all his time in America. He thinks instead of worshiping God, he's worshiping the United States. That's why he's always there, going to accuse us to the Americans. You can imagine to go to the Americans to accuse Ugandans. Why don't you? I have never gone to UN to the US to accuse Bobi Wine or to UK. I did with him here. I didn't go to, when we were fighting Idi Amin, we never went to America to accuse those people. We fought them here. Yeah. We fought them. We made peace with others. It was our internal issue. So this fixation with the outside is itself a sign of the morbidity of their line. This is a sick idea of dependency.
Would you sit down with Bobi Wine? I know you've invited him a couple of times, and you I can sense a strong sense of father figure in you for the country, not just for your family. So in that position of yours as a father, would you, by all means necessary, by all legal means necessary, sit down with Bobi Wine and have a conversation?
We can talk with anybody. We have been doing that.
Sir, not we, you.
When I say we, I've been a leader most of this time. So when I say we, I mean the people under my leadership. We always talk to our opponents. Even now we have got a mechanism called IPOD, Inter-Party Dialogue Forum, where some of these people, because they are busy soliciting for external support, they don't care about the internal efforts. They are busy in America, talking to senators, talking to what, so they don't bother, but they are welcome. The others who want, come and we dialogue.
In March, 2 journalists, Farida Bokobere and Norman Tumuimbise, were detained for criticizing your government. Last year also, you, Mr. President, threatened to bankrupt a leading newspaper in this country, the Daily Monitor, for quoting a report that said your government, officials in your government, took COVID-19 vaccines ahead of other Ugandans. There was also a Ugandan novelist who was charged for criticizing you and your family. These are events that has made your opponents, your critics say that you are cracking down on the media and that this is also a violation of people's human rights. They should have a right to free speech. How do you respond to this, Mr. President?
I think there is a cultural problem between us, the Africans, and some of the other people in the world. In many of our cultures, we don't accept malignment or demonization. So therefore, we think that free speech should be free speech with good faith and with correct or reasonably correct facts. But to allow a situation where people can just malign and demonize, we don't think it is correct. And there are even laws to stop that. These are laws of libel, laws of this one, in the Western countries at least. But even here, in our culture, when you tell lies about me, you are sanctioned by the traditional systems.
The reason I ask you, Mr. President, sorry to cut you short, is because a free media is very, very pivotal to a healthy democracy. We all don't like to... Not everyone will agree with us, but at the very least, they should be able to say, as you say, the truth. Mm-hmm. So if they have facts indeed, an obvious fact, should they be allowed to say it? Or
yes, facts they should say. Facts, but not lies and fabrications. Because that's how fascism starts. Fascism starts with lies and fabrications. Why are you saying something which is not true? How is that serving society? So that's why there is some tug of war with the media, not because they are speaking the truth, but because they are telling lies.
Sir, let me just ask you about the ADF now. Uganda sent troops to Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in December as part of a special operation against the Allied Democratic Forces, the ADF. The same ADF has launched attack in Kampala a couple of times,
Yes.
even pretty recently. How is that operation going?
Very well.
Tell me more about it. Are you making progress? Have you defeated the ADF?
Very much. We have, because they were having these forests for a long time. They were having camps in the forest
What forest?
of Congo, forests of Congo, of that area called North Kivu and Ituri.
Province.
So we cleared those bases. We have been hunting, capturing or killing. I don't have the details, but these people can get you the details of people captured, people killed, and so on.
As a Pan-Africanist, elder statesman, and the third longest serving president in Africa, I'd like to ask, what was your vision for Africa when you came into power about 36 years ago? And what would you see? What would you like to see happen on the continent right now and in the future?
I have a political organization called National Resistance Movement, and it has got 4 principles. Principle number 1 is patriotism. Love Uganda. Don't love this tribe or the other tribe. Don't love this religion or the other religion. Think Ugandan. Love your fatherland. Number 2, because you need the fatherland for the prosperity of the people. For instance, me, I am a cattle keeper. But when I keep cows and I produce milk and beef, people in my tribe don't buy the meat or the milk. Why? Because they have the same. I have milk, they have milk. I have beef, they have beef. They don't buy from me. The people who buy from me are the people from other areas who don't have cows. So you find that for my prosperity, I need Uganda. Second, so that's why I say, please, if you want to be prosperous, Africans, if you want to be prosperous, don't think about clans, don't think about tribes, think about countries. Secondly, however, if you are a wealth creator like myself, because me, I'm a cattle keeper, I'm a wealth creator. I grow bananas, I'm a wealth creator. So if you think about wealth creation, you discover that even Uganda is not enough. The market is not enough. You discover that you need East Africa. You need Africa. So that's why the second principle is Pan-Africanism. The third principle is socio-economic transformation. You cannot use the patriotism, you cannot use the Pan-Africanism if your society has not changed to go from the old ways to the new ways.
Right, Mr. President.
And finally, democracy. So these are our aims. That's what we are fighting for. That's what we are fighting for even now.
Your Excellency, when you look back to 1986, when you became president till now, and 6 terms into office, would you say that this is the Uganda of your dreams?
Not yet, but partially. Partially, because
So there is unfinished business.
there is unfinished business, but some business have been done. For instance, the East Africa. For instance, if you take patriotism, Uganda is now more united than it was in 1962. That's why we have been having elections all these times.
Right.
And we always win on the first round.
Talking about winning, you've been winning a lot, Mr. President.
We have never had a second round.
Right.
A rerun, because a rerun means you don't get more than 50% of the vote. We always get absolute majority. Why? Because the people are more united, which was not the case in 1962.
So, sir, let me just ask you quickly because we're running out of time. Would you you said there is a need of there's a feeling of unfinished business, right? So
No, I was going to tell you briefly some of the things that have been achieved. Like, for instance, this one of more unity, more education for our children, better infrastructure, some socio-economic transformation, society changing from the old ways to the new ways.
right.
On the East African level, the revival of the East African community, because the community had collapsed during the time of Idi Amin. It was revived, and we have now put in place the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area. So there is some progress, but there are some unfinished business.
Sir,
For instance, the Political Federation of East Africa.
would you want to run again to see through that unfinished business? Is that why you've been running all these years for office?
Of course, we have been running because there was unfinished business. Whether I will run again, that will be for my party to decide, and also for me and my family to decide.
So, how long more do you think you need to finish this business you started?
No, we may not finish it ourselves. We push as much as we. For instance,
Mr. President, I'm talking about you in particular. How long more do you need to finish
It's not me. It is really we. Because, like, for instance, one of our leaders, the former president of Tanzania, Mwalimu Nyerere, was pushing until he retired and died. He's now safely in heaven. And by the time he died, I think we had revived the East African community, but other things had not been done. So it is a struggle which you do as much as you can, and when you leave, other people who believe in your cause continue.
There is a conversation on the streets. I told you I've been talking to people, I've been listening. What do you say to people who say that the celebration of life, actually, it's the celebration of your son's 40th birthday, is a strategic way of positioning him to, if he wants, become president of the country? And he himself has been on Twitter talking a lot about how he's very interested in being the leader of this country. And so people are criticizing, is Uganda heading towards hereditary rule? How does the president respond?
I remember I organized Muhoozi's 12th birthday, 1986, on the 24th of April, 1986. You can go and check. You can give her the videos of that birthday. I must have been preparing him to become president at the age of 12. The birthday is a birthday.
It's not a strategic political positioning for him to take over as president.
No, it was just his birthday. But there was goodwill, and people came up, which was good. But this was a birthday. It was a birthday.
Looking back at nearly 4 decades in office, do you have any regrets politically or personally? And how do you wish to be remembered by Ugandans, by Africans, and by the rest of the world?
I don't have, because everything has been written down. What has been done has been, what has been achieved has been achieved. What has not been achieved is known, or certainly written down. So me, I don't have any regrets.
Your Excellency, President Yoweri Museveni, thank you so much for being patient and for granting this interview.
Thank you.